today, and it's Bill Downs from Protovite. Bill, how you doing?
I'm doing great, Paul. Thanks for having me.
Bill, I'm stunned when we start talking about different things going on in the world of nutrition, in the world of people keeping their health. I'm closing in now on 55 years old, and it's time for me to lose a few pounds and to eat a whole lot healthier. So, and I'm sure I'm not the only one watching this video in the same conditions. So let me ask you a question. When it comes to nutritional stewardship, what do you recommend?
Well, God was very specific when he laid out the laws of nutrition, and it wasn't just laid out as a prohibition to not do certain things, like don't boil a goat in its mother's milk.
Right.
And that's where the kosher law of don't mix meat and dairy together. There was a reason for that, because it takes about 2 to 2.5 hours to disintegrate and dissolve red meat in the stomach, and it takes about 3 hours to disintegrate and dissolve dairy. And when you combine them, it's an additive effect. It's almost 5 hours to break that down, but the problem is it only stays in the stomach for about 2.5 hours. So that means that you get a lot of undigested gook going into the small intestine, which houses 70 to 80% of the immune system, and the proteins putrefy, the fats go rancid, and the carbs ferment that aren't already digested. And that creates a horrible burden on the digestive system and the immune system. So God told his people not to eat these things so that they could have a prolonged life. It was about preserving his chosen people so that they would thrive over all the others. Remember when David was prisoner of Nebuchadnezzar, they were vegetarians. They didn't eat any of of King Nebuchadnezzar's delicacies, and that's one of the reasons why they got in trouble. And we need to understand that we're supposed to have an intimate, loving relationship with the nature that God created. Only problem? That nature doesn't exist anymore. In commercial stores, it's all agribusiness. The number one addiction of the human species is greed, and that drives agribusiness. So that's what we're eating.
Well, something. When I was growing up as a kid, the cornfields here in Indiana, the corn was all different sizes, and the ears of corn were on different spots on the corn stalk, and it wasn't easy for the farmers back in those days to get the combines out and harvest, and they left a lot of corn left over. But not no more, Bill. Every stalk is the exact same size, and the ears are on the stalk in the exact same place, so that it's a big business, like you said.
Yeah, I call it soldier corn. They're all in lockstep, and that's primarily because of genetic modifications to the species. I mean, the food that we eat now, we're clearly overfed and undernourished because the soil is nutrient depleted. These are not these are not mysteries. These are highly published reports that the soil is nutrient depleted, and all we're doing is replenishing it with chemical fertilizers, not nature's own nutritional replenishment, things that die and fertilize the earth and feed the earth. It's a symbiotic relationship. We thrive on things in our environment. We're supposed to, but we don't have that opportunity now. If somebody had to go out and live in a forest for 30 days by themselves, the food that they would have to eat in the forest would not even resemble what they'd find in a grocery store.
Right.
The food in the grocery store is put there because it's commercially viable, not because it's what nature provided.
So we're becoming a society of overeaters. We're overeaters. We're overweight, and we're nourished in
Correct.
reality. And so there has to be some nutritional stewardship there. And in that, isn't there some foods you have to avoid, or what do you do here?
Well, the rule of thumb that I like to state, which is pretty easy to remember, is if it's white, it ain't right.
Okay.
So, if you're eating white sugar, white flour, white bread, white pasta, And even if the stuff is colored, if you got chocolate ice cream, it's still got white sugar in it.
Right.
That deceives the body into thinking that it's getting nutrition, but it's not nutrition. It's pure energy. And when I was in school for going to be a registered dietitian at one time, they used to say there's no such thing as bad calories or bad food. There's only bad food choices that we make, and I take exception to that. Evaluating the quality of a diet by the quantity of calories is like evaluating the quality of art by the size of the frame.
It's not. It's a. It's not a value to get to fill up the cart with. It's just because you go to the restaurant, they bring you these huge plates of food, and that's supposed to be value, right? But in reality, what are they feeding you?
Yeah, we're falling very short. And that's why we have such a ridiculously high rate of chronic disease.
Right. Something about your product, Protovite. Has there been some studies? What kind of research has gone into your product?
Well, we did a clinical study on the Protovite. Let me preface this by saying, when Steve Kushner and I put this together, and Steve was the pioneer of the proteasome technology. Back in those days, it was called IntelliSomes, and it was a proprietary technology back then. But we've worked on it to develop it far beyond that. And our primary objective was actually trying to mimic biological fluids and cell membrane properties. It sounds like it's hocus pocus, but it's not. The cell membranes are made of something called phospholipids, which are in all plant oils. People today are, trying to get all these fish oils in, and the fish oils don't contain the phospholipids. The plant oils contain phospholipids, and phospholipids make up all the cell membranes and intracellular organelle membranes of every cell in the soft tissue of your body. And that's trillions of them. And if you don't have phospholipids, you have unhealthy cell membrane structure. Okay. And if you have unhealthy cell membrane structure, you have unhealthy cell membrane function. And that's a breakdown. So we take these phospholipids and we impregnate them with free ions and change their energetic fingerprint. And this is what we use to create these envelopes that encapsulate the nutrients in the Protovite and really make it distinctively unique, to the point that when we allowed a 50-gallon production batch to stand at room temperature for several hours, temperature went up to 98.6 degrees Fahrenheit and stopped, which is body temperature.
What?
Yeah, it's pretty wild. So the production chemist called Steve Kushner, my colleague, and said he'd been doing this for a lot of years and he'd never seen anything like this. They make liquids there. He said this is the first time he's ever seen that. So we know we have something remarkably unique. And what that means is it's biologically compatible or body friendly. It gets in. So we wanted to demonstrate that. In the study that we did a live blood cell imaging where we took somebody's blood from their finger to create a baseline, and we looked at it under a microscope. And then we gave them water, because I had another colleague said, yeah, but if you give somebody water, you hydrate the cells. And so I said, that'll be a good control. So we gave them water and waited 5 minutes and looked at the blood under the cells, no difference. So then we gave them Protovite and we waited 5 minutes. So they had to hold the Protovite in their mouth for 30 seconds, switch it around, and then swallow it, because it's gaining some absorption through the blood vessels under the tongue called the sublingual mucosa. And that got into the blood really rapidly. And that was our objective. It wasn't to diagnose, treat, cure, prevent disease. It was to show that our nutrients could get into the blood rapidly, effortlessly. And we did a study and found that the Protovite was able to get into the blood in 5 minutes or less and have a dramatic impact on improving the properties of the blood. It reloaded the red blood cells with hemoglobin. It made more robust white cells. If you don't have healthy red blood cells, you do not have healthy white blood cells. So and by the way, Leviticus 17:11, the life of the flesh is in the blood.
It
Boy,
is.
Nothing more true was ever stated.
Amen.
And we're demonstrating that.
So
So I believe you might have a video of that one of the subjects in the study.
we do have a video of it. It's an incredible video, folks. It takes about 2 minutes. And watch these blood cells change before your very eyes. Let's go to the video now.
This is a pretty good sample. We seem to have a lot of cell aggregation though. And that's basically the red blood cells have lost their negative charge. This will be very interesting. This is a white blood cell right here, neutrophil in particular. And again, about quarter the size it should be, probably because of the cell aggregation somehow affecting circulation, indirectly or directly affecting immune. So again, there's another neutrophil right there in the middle of the screen.
That's good, yeah.
And it should be about twice or 3 times as big. Okay, this is 5 minutes after taking the multi, and we've restored the negative charge. The red blood cells are very loose, free-flowing. There's 2 neutrophils, one in the top left corner, one in the bottom right corner, and you can see that the neutrophils are 4 times bigger. It's been 5 minutes. To me, that's absolutely amazing, and I've been doing this for 14 years. I've done over 40,000 sessions. I've never seen a product that changes the blood. I've certainly seen it changing in 3 and 4 months, but not 5 minutes. So there's definitely something amazing going on here. And again, the white blood cells are 4 times as big. The red blood cells are loose and free-flowing. Almost looks like somebody totally different's blood.
Oh man, are you serious? That is an incredible. I mean, right before your very eyes, Bill, I'm watching the blood cells. They get energized. They come alive.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. They start out as Cheerios, and then they start clumping together. Of course, they're not Cheerios. They're hypochromic, it's called. They're actually anemic because the hemoglobin's been sacrificed in an effort to help maintain the ability to use oxygen and water. Because if you can't use oxygen, you can't use water, because water's H2O.
That's right.
So we're giving the blood the resources to reload the hemoglobin in the cell, which is heme is an iron-bound protein, so the iron's coming back in. That's changing the polarity of the cells, revitalizing their structure, their function, restoring white blood cells. You saw a couple of beautiful white blood cells in there. And the blood's starting to work again in 5 minutes or less. And that was a 70-year-old woman with osteoporosis and osteoarthritis. She had kidney trouble and some other issues. And again, we're not curing any disease. You're just seeing what happens when the blood gets nourished the way it's supposed to be.
Yeah, you know, like you said, you're not trying to cure a disease. You're not trying not to either. And I think that, I mean, when the blood cells, you know, again, life of the flesh, there's no question. The blood has to be oxygen. It has to have enough oxygen in it, enough power, enough pep. I mean, you know, this is why when people are struggling, sometimes, you know, they get oxygen just to simply give them more oxygen in the blood. But let me ask you a question. What makes this product technology so unique than anything else out there?
It mimics cell membranes and biological fluid properties. And before you run on, let me go back to what you just said earlier. If somebody's taking oxygen,
yeah,
it's improving their oxygen saturation, but it's not improving their ability to use that oxygen.
Oh, okay. Talk to me now. All right, I'm listening.
Okay, so It's like somebody being thirsty and having to stand under Niagara Falls.
Oh.
Okay,
Yeah.
the oxygen has one primary function: to burn. And if your body can't use oxygen, saturating the tissues with more oxygen actually increases oxidative stress, oxidative damage.
Really?
The classic example of that is somebody has a heart attack and they paddle them. The thing that can create so much damage and even kill somebody in the aftermath of that is when the heart starts pumping again, blood and oxygen flood into tissues that have turned off and lost their ability to use that oxygen.
Yeah.
And it's such damage, it's called ischemic reperfusion injury. It's too much oxygen.
Too much. So,
Yeah. So what we want to do is restore the ability of cells to use oxygen and water, not just flood the tissues with oxygen.
so that's what Protovite's doing. It's going right to the cells. It's opening those cells up. It's making them to where they're receptive. They can receive the oxygen and start to use it appropriately.
That's That's what nourishment, nutrition that gets in. That's what that does.
Right. A lot of people are struggling with a lot of different digestive problems, Bill. I mean, it goes the gamut. You can run the gamut on this. What is your take on the digestive problems and the causes and the prevention of it?
Well, we go back to the food supply, and what we're putting in our mouths is not giving us the nourishment to fund the first most important step of human metabolism, the digestive system. It has one really important function. It has to turn not you, food you put in your mouth, not you, into you. And so it has to be able to tell the difference between you and not you, good not you and bad not you. It has to be able to convert good not you into you, protect you from the waste of good not you, protect you from bad not you, all in the process of making you and eliminate the waste of that process, that conversion process. That's why 70 to 80% of your immune system tissue is in your digestive tract. So, digestive problems are the number one health malady in our culture. Digestive problems are the number one reason for doctor visits, the number one reason for emergency room visits after accidents, the number one reason for the most purchased over-the-counter meds, the number one reason for the most prescribed drugs for a legitimate health condition, and they underpin every major chronic degenerative disease. So our technology doesn't rely on the competence of the digestive system. It absorbs regardless of that health because the proteasome technology gets it into the blood vessels under the tongue, and it doesn't break down in the stomach. It goes into the small intestine. All of our ingredients are mechanically pre-digested, so they're ready for action when they get into the blood.
Is there a war between the GMO products and Protovite? I mean, literally, okay, if I was to sit down and eat a bag of Doritos and a bologna sandwich, that's a horrible thing about, with cheese, and then drink Protovite. I mean, is there a battle going to go on? Is there a cellular revolt? What happens?
Well, yeah, and the Protovite's nourishing your body, and the bit of nourishment that you might be getting out of the chips and the sandwich and you might be drinking a milkshake for all I know. It sounds like you're kind of heading in that direction.
That's not good. Okay.
Yeah, right. But the burden that places on the body, trying to convert good not you out of that crap,
right,
is a horrendous challenge. And so your body is desperately calling for nutrition. If you ate healthy, your body would automatically be healthier, and the Protovite would be able to not just get you past a stage of decrepit function, but would really help you to achieve your genetic optimum function.
And I got it. I mean, it comes down again to that nutritional stewardship that you talked about. And, if it's white, it's not right.
That's right.
So I've got to, everybody out there watching right now, you got to get focused here and the Protovite, what you're saying is start developing good habits and then let this product, let the technology that's been proven. We saw it with the energizing basically of the blood cells, let it start to do its work in your system. I know that there's chronic diseases out there. There's people that maybe have really abused their body, and now it's, they're trying to make a comeback here at the end. Can Protovite help us in this area?
Every major chronic degenerative disease is characterized by an inability to effectively use oxygen and water. Protovite restores the ability to use oxygen and water. It doesn't cure disease. It nourishes the body's ability to make energy, to manage the energy, to get rid of waste. That's all metabolism, as it funds the cell's ability to do their jobs, their genetically mandated jobs. And that's where optimal metabolism is. So it doesn't matter what problems that you have, your body is desperately craving nutrition to give it resources, to give it the ability to move towards optimal health. So the healthier your lifestyle, the easier that'll be. The worse your lifestyle, probably the more Protovite you're going to have to take to overcome some of those challenges. And that it'd be better to have a healthy lifestyle.
Absolutely. So, and when I take that in, from what I'm learning here is this: people have bad health, they get sick, they throw oxygen at people, or they throw medications, pharmaceuticals at people, trying to do a quick fix. But the cells are damaged, or the cells are not able to receive. And what Protovite does, it goes in there and says, "Hey, we got to attack the problem at the very beginning of the source of it, and start to energize these blood cells, both red and white." Is that right?
Oh, that's correct. If you don't have healthy red blood cells, you do not have healthy white blood cells, and that's your immune system. So getting to the source, you're made of air, water, sunshine, and food. The quality of life is directly dependent upon the quality of those resources, and Protovite is absolutely the very best quality of those resources. But don't put the entire burden of your health on Protovite. Please eat healthy. Love your body. We're supposed to love ourselves as our neighbors. That was the 11th commandment. The first one is love the Lord your God with all your heart, all your soul, all your might. And the last one that Christ gave was to love your neighbor as yourself.
Right.
That means you got to love yourself. And love, the definition of love is to give.
Right.
So the opposite of love is not hate, it's selfishness. So don't be greedy, don't be selfish, don't be self-gratifying and giving yourself all the pleasure of good, yummy, crappy food. Take care of your body. It is the house of the Holy Spirit.
Amen.
It's the temple of the Holy Spirit.
Yes, it is. And a lot of professionals, and there's a lot of folks watching this video right now that are professionals, okay? They're on the road, they travel, they're at the office all day, they put in the long hours, and, they may not, this is not a substitute for nutritional stewardship. This is a to help you, but you still, you got to focus yourself. You've got to make that effort. But let me ask you a question, Bill. Can you lose weight taking Protovite?
Well, that's a good question. And the answer is that Albert Einstein said if you want to solve a problem, you have to be able to first accurately state the problem.
Okay.
And very few people have accurately stated what causes obesity. And quite frankly, let's define the function of fat. It's survival insurance. So
Right.
The only reason that your body starts storing fat and glycogen, by the way, is that your body's in a state of survival panic because too much stress, not enough nutrients, genetic predispositions, and the people who have more body fat than others generally are genetically superior survival specimens who have greater survival insurance capabilities. And the only way to fix that is to fix metabolism. It's not to deprive yourself, and it's not to exercise excessively, and it's not to take colon blow, and it's not to take some central nervous system stimulants. It's to feed the need of your body's genetic expressions, of your nutritional requirements. And when your metabolism gets fixed, and that's what Protovite does, it helps to fix metabolism, restore the ability to make energy, manage it, and then get rid of waste, and that's metabolism. Then it turns off the survival panic, and you start to let go of excess stored body fat.
All right, so you're looking at a guy right here. Myself lost 54 pounds with a diet in which basically what I did was I followed the scriptures in Daniel, And for 21 days a month, I would eat no sweet, no breads, no meat, and no sweets. And then the last 10 days a month, I eat what I wanted to, but I didn't eat as much of these things because I was in my body was changing. Now I need to lose about another 37 pounds, but I am one of these type A personalities. I'm working hard. I'm on the road traveling. I'm preaching. I'm speaking. I'm writing. So I'm one of these guys that needs to get over the hump. It's time for me to start taking Protovite and get on a bike. Should I take Protovite and ride a bike? I mean,
well, you'll notice that when you start taking Protovite, your exercise regimen gets better. We have a guy that was a competitive powerlifter who was training for some advanced powerlifting competitions. He'd been training for a year, and he's a doctor in business administration. He has he's certified in sports nutrition and certified personal trainer. So he's a smart guy. He had been taking 20 other supplements for a year in his training. His weakest exercise event was the squat. So he wanted to improve his squat.
Right.
He was squatting 395 pounds.
Wow.
And he wanted to hit 405. So he did a 6-week washout, stopped taking the 20 other supplements, walked into the gym, took 1 ounce of Protovite, it's a liquid, took 1 ounce of Protovite, swished it in his mouth for 30 seconds, just like the study, and swallowed it. And he put another ounce in his electrolyte beverage, and he sipped on that between his sets of squats. By the way, you're supposed to wait 15 minutes between sets of squats and powerlifting. He only waited 5. They told him he wouldn't be able to walk the next day. But anyway, so he wanted to hit 405 pounds. That night he hit 515 pounds.
What? Bill! Wait, now this is not a steroid, okay? We're not talking steroids here. We're talking energized blood cells, Protovite, making a major difference. Are you serious about that? That's incredible.
Nutrition that gets in. In fact, on the website, we have what's called the WADA certificate, WADA's World Anti-Doping Association. These products are clean. We are WADA compliant.
Awesome.
So no issue. By the way, 2 weeks later, he had 575 pounds. So he wanted a 10-pound increase. He got a 180-pound increase. Wow. Just by nutrition that gets in. Folks,
Protovite product, you can find it at www.lifeoftheflesh.com. That's www.lifeoftheflesh.com. And this is Bill Downs. Join us today. This is fascinating stuff. This has been a powerful broadcast, Bill, and I truly appreciate it very much.
It's been a blessing to me, too. Thank you, Paul.
All right. God bless.
All right. Thanks.